Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. How are you doing today? Hope you are having a sunny day. Ready for some new drama from Ask a Lawyer? Let's go to the first one, about OP's parents, who threatened to cut OP out of their will unless she apologizes for buying her grandparents' house. Listen to the story, guys, to find out why, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I'm a 35 female. I'm the middle child of 8. I was raised on a farm, which is also the family's business. If anyone has ever lived on a farm, then you know it's practically a 24-hour job. I absolutely wanted no part of it, which is why I'm practically the black sheep of the family. I was a rebellious teenager, and it caused a lot of strain on the relationship with my parents. My grandparents moved in 5 years ago with my parents due to their health and age, which was a hard move for them, especially having to get rid of their beloved horses. Their home was supposed to be bought by my brother and his wife. They decided not to buy it because they wanted to move into something turnkey. My grandparents' home was very, very old, and it, along with the land that surrounded it, needed a lot of work done. I didn't care. I wanted it. It was wasting away sitting there. It belonged to my great-great-grandparents. I offered to buy it. I was told no immediately by my parents. I was called too irresponsible for such an honor, and it was said I had no stability. My past as a teenager has been held against me till this day. They pointed out that I was the only one out of my siblings who wasn't married with no kids, so I didn't need the space, which was a stupid reason. My grandparents put the home on the market, which I had no clue about. Just so happens an old friend that's in real estate reached out to me to just confirm her suspicions of it being my grandparents' home for sale. I got the idea to purchase it that way, and what do you know? They accepted the cash offer. Didn't think it would work out, but it did. Over the last 2 years, I've had the place redone from top to bottom, inside and out, and keeping all this quiet. My grandfather's birthday came up along with the discussion of riding by their old home. It's been a wish of my grandparents for a while, which was perfect because I'd bought their horse back from the family friend that had them. My grandparents were taking an hour-and-a-half drive every weekend to see their horses, but they hadn't been able to see them in the last few years. The drive was too much. The looks on my grandparents' faces once seeing the house and the horses out grazing was one that would forever be etched into my heart. But boy, was it ruined once my parents realized I was the new owner. I was told that I had no respect for them, that nothing good would come from me disobeying them. My grandparents were unaware about me even asking to buy the house and had no problem with it. My grandfather had a few words from my father that day that made him drop tears. The phone calls that have followed up until now are ridiculous. My grandparents are now splitting their time here and at my parents', which has caused even more issues. I was told by one of my siblings that my parents had taken me out of their will until I apologize. I responded, it would never happen, and I have my own money and I'm not hurting for anything. Just because OP was a rebellious teenager, it doesn't make her an irresponsible adult. Just because OP was unmarried with no children, it doesn't mean that she is less deserving of the house. So what OP's parents said is absolutely untrue. I'd like to point out, saying that OP has been taken out of her parents' will until she apologizes is manipulation. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Tired of BS roommate says, not the a-hole. You bought it fair and square, and your parents are just mad they couldn't control both you and your grandparents. I'm glad you got the house and the horses back. Your grandparents are happy. And honestly, maybe it's time to go low contact or no contact with your crappy parents for a while. They're trying to guilt trip you with their will until you bend to their demands. Like, what do they want you to do now? Give them back the house for free cause you don't deserve it? Cold Tea 2150 says, not the a-hole. What is the worst part is your parents would rather have seen it go to complete strangers than see you have it. This way it can stay in the family for another generation and hopefully future generations to come. I can imagine your grandparents would love being able to visit their old home, knowing their granddaughter is taking care of it. You have nothing to apologize for. They should be the ones to apologize to both yourself and your grandparents. Babby J. Graham says, not the a-hole. That was never your parents' call to make, as it wasn't their house. Their behavior was extremely disrespectful, and now they're just doubling down. I, 46 female, have 4 kids. Caleb, 18 male. Bailey, almost 16 female. Jacob, 13 male. And Sophia, 9 female, with my ex-husband Mike, 47 male. Mike and I got divorced 7 years ago when I found out he was having an affair and fathered another child outside of our marriage. I was the breadwinner in the family and got a promotion after my divorce, which required me to move out of state with my children. My children see their father during school breaks. He's not with his affair partner, but they have joint custody, and he has his other daughter, Bella, 8 female, half of the week. He does not make a lot of money, but does pay me court-ordered child support. My daughter is having a sweet 16 on New Year's Eve when she comes back from her dad's for Christmas break. Her dad couldn't financially contribute to the sweet 16, so I paid for the whole thing alone, but I told my ex he could come. I've also invited his family members as well. Last night my ex called and wanted to know if he could bring Bella. I said I would think about it, but honestly, I didn't feel comfortable with it. I've never met his other child, but seeing my ex is upsetting enough without having to see the physical embodiment of his affair. I know she's a child, and it's not her fault how she got here, and I also know that she is my children's half-sister, so I asked Bailey if she wanted her to come. She said it didn't really matter to her, and they're not close because of the age difference. She also said Sophia has some sort of sibling rivalry with her, so she'd rather not deal with that on her day. I explained all the reasons to my ex this morning and let him know I was not comfortable with it. He blew up on me and said I was taking my anger out on a little girl and making the rift between her and our children worse. He then started ranting about how it's my fault that Caleb doesn't talk to him because of the affair. I didn't even know. And how Bella is upset because my kids have more things and better clothes than she does. I responded that none of those things were my problem. He said that he has Bella that weekend, so if she can't come, he won't be able to make it. I told him that he was making a choice not to find other arrangements, and he was making a choice to not come to Bailey's Sweet 16, so he needed to be the one to let her know he wasn't coming. He's saying I'm the a-hole for forcing his hand, and that I could just invite Bella. So am I the a-hole? I don't think OP is in the wrong here. It's OP's daughter's birthday, and she said it herself, that she didn't want to deal with her half-sister on that day, especially since her half-sister has a rivalry with her. I think OP did the best thing by being cordial with her ex and respecting what her daughter wanted. Who knows, maybe OP's ex will find a babysitter. Maybe her daughter will change her mind. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Zyla the Broken says, not the a-hole. These are the lifelong consequences of his actions outside the marriage, and not your problem. Asantos1234 says, not the a-hole. It's wonderful that you seek your daughter's opinion before anything else. Leave the decision to Bailey. Lola June 25 says, not the a-hole. I commend you for acknowledging your bias, not wanting Bella around, but also being mature enough to do the right thing, asking what Bailey wants. And thank goodness you did ask. Otherwise, you could have accidentally jeopardized this milestone party with a blow-up family fight. If your ex pushes the issue, I would say he's made the decision that ultimately hurt your children. There's nothing you can do for him to improve the situation. If he wants a better relationship with his children, then he needs to do that himself. But why waste your breath and energy doing this emotional labor for him, right? Also, if your ex can't afford to contribute to this party, it might be best for Bella not to come. This would reduce opportunities for stress, disappointment from expecting similar celebrations that he can't afford. I'm female 20. My uncle, my father's brother, is 37. I remember when I was a kid, he used to bring a different girl every time he visited us. Not that often, I'll admit. Until he suddenly stopped visiting for a few years. I was a teenager at the time, so I had no idea what was going on with him until he came home for my dad's birthday. He didn't like it, but he let him in. That night, my dad explained that my uncle was a serial cheater and had stopped coming over after he called him out on his behavior, and he didn't like it. But this time he seems to have changed, but will not be involved in my uncle's business again. Well, my uncle got married and made a happy home with his new wife. Until last year when my uncle invited me to watch a movie in the theater. But he wasn't alone. He had a girl with him who wasn't his wife. I'll call her Marbella. I was too afraid to ask about it, but he talked to me alone and told me not to tell anyone about her. Except that I told my father. He was disappointed, but told me to mind my own business and that he no longer cared what my uncle did. So on Easter we had dinner with my family. I brought my boyfriend, male 20. We've been dating for a few months. One thing you should know is that I'm bi. My uncle knows this and makes jokes about it at my expense. He came to dinner with his wife, and during the night he made fun of me. At one point, he looked at my boyfriend and said to him, "You need to ask her for a 3S before she does one without you, mate." I was shocked, and everyone at the table went silent. Even my grandma, who always made snide comments about everything, didn't know what to say. I was embarrassed and annoyed. So I said, "So, Uncle, how's Marbella?" His wife asked, "Who's Marbella?" He tried to say nobody, I don't know. But I replied, "But we went to the movie theater last year. She looked nice." His wife looked at me like, if looks could kill, and she said, "We're leaving," and they left just like that. Later, my uncle texted me about how immature that was. It was none of my business to get involved, and now he had to factory reset his phone because his wife will not stop asking to see his phone unlocked, and is still bothering him about it. He also found my boyfriend's Instagram and DM'd him, "Dude, control your witch." I'm pretty offended. He never insulted me before. My father told me that I should have minded my own business because he would never learn, and what I did not teach him anything. My boyfriend has done nothing but praise me for my pettiness. I'm kind of regretting it because it seems like I launched a nuke and I wasn't ready for the fallout. Am I the a-hole? OP and her boyfriend need to set very firm boundaries with OP's uncle in the future. It should be made very clear that sending that message to your OP's boyfriend is not acceptable. I'd screenshot that and his text about the factory resets and send it to his wife. He only behaves like that because he thinks he can get away with it. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Dem Bow Then Now says, "Not the a-hole. That was an awesome move. Next time, Uncle should learn how to keep his mouth shut. If his wife asks you about Marbella, don't lie." Dunicha says, "Why the duck would he take you somewhere with his affair partner? He's too stupid to get away with it. If his wife didn't find out like this, I'm sure she would have found out some other way. Not the a-hole." Dirty Piss says, "Not the a-hole. Ask your dad why his brother is okay to imply you'd cheat on your boyfriend, but you're not okay to bring up his actual cheating. Is there a reason he'd rather defend a cheater over his daughter? Are these values he'd want you to instill in your children? Your boyfriend has good judgment, and he's backing you for a reason. Trust your gut on this one. You did good." So, a little backstory before we get to the main issue. My fiancé, female 29, and I, male 24, have been engaged for a little over 2 years and are getting married next month. Combined, we make about $170K a year. We decided on a place that is perfect for us to get married at, and never expected anyone to help because 1. We chose a place that fits our budget, and 2. It's ultimately our day and what we want, so we planned on paying for it ourselves. Now, my fiancé's parents make more than my family does. My fiancé's parents offered to help in any way they can and have paid for stuff without us even asking. They paid for our bridal shower, which included the gifts, the food, and the rental spot. They also paid for her dress, which was about $1K. My parents volunteered to pay for the rehearsal dinner and the dessert. We chose a place for the dessert and gave my parents a price. We chose to do cupcakes and just a little 2-tier cake from a popular bakery called Everything Bunt Cakes. Well, when we went to place the order, we found out the buntinis are really small and decided maybe we should double the order. I called my mom and she confirmed it was okay, even though the price was doubled. I asked her if she was sure because they were planning a trip to Mexico at the time, and my dad was working a second job to be able to afford it. I told my mom I don't care if she wanted to do something else because of the price change, but she reassured me it was fine. So we placed the order and thought that was that. Now on to the issue. A few days after we placed our order, I get a text from my sister saying we need to talk. So I texted back asking what was up. She goes on this huge rant saying I need to stick up for my parents because they work so hard for what they have, and me deciding to double the dessert order was BS. I tried explaining to her that our parents agreed to it and reassured me it was fine. It wasn't like I told my parents this is what we are doing and you don't have a choice. My sister started calling my fiancé a crybaby and me an ungrateful bee. I told her if she kept it up, she will be uninvited to our wedding because I will not put up with the way she is talking to us. She said, "Fine, take me out because I'm done with you and you won't see your niece ever again." There was a lot more choice words that were said that I won't get into, but my fiancé was upset and crying, and I won't stand for that. I've completely cut my sister off and have not talked to her since. I did have a conversation with my dad, and a lot of tears were shed between us. I haven't talked to my mom because she makes excuse after excuse for my sister as to why she acts the way she does. I've also went low contact with her because I don't want to start any more drama. So I ask if I'm the a-hole for going no contact with my sister, even though she's family. Edit. I guess I should clarify that my dad did not pick up a second job just for this wedding. He's been working a second job for a while now on the weekends, just for extra money for anything he wants to do. My mom is a homebody, and her number one excuses for not doing anything is money. They did end up going on vacation and had a wonderful time. But my dad uses this money for baseball games, high-end whiskey he likes to drink, gas for his motorcycle rides, stuff like that. Edit number 2. A lot of you are saying my dad took a second job to make ends meet, which isn't the case. He's had a second job on the weekends driving a limo for extra money, period. He didn't take a second job to pay for desserts for a wedding. Edit number 3. I offered to pay the difference of the dessert, or pay for the rehearsal dinner they also offered to pay for to offset the cost. The desserts we chose were the cheapest option we found that didn't include a professional baker. I've also told my parents I don't care about the money, but they, once again, reassured me it was fine after a lengthy phone call. Lovely Eyes 0905 says, "No, you're not, but it sounds kinda like one of your parents, probably your mother based on her excusing your sister, complained about the situation to your sister, and made it seem to her that you were forcing them to pay double. It's either that or she's jealous that your parents went out of their way for you." Serial K4321 says, "Not the a-hole. You asked your family. They said yes. If you didn't ask, they think fiance's family is trying to show them up. Leave them out. Your sister-in-law should be cut off for speaking to you like that. My in-laws made excuses all the time for a sister-in-law who treated us in a similar way. In 2021, I put my foot down after 10 years of verbal aggression and cut her off. We don't see her son or allow him to come to events involving our kids, as it's a full cutoff. Collateral damage, but we had to sever the toxic limb to save the marriage." Constitutional History says, "In all fairness, as you knew your folks weren't high rollers, and the fact that you two make good money, you really should have paid for the difference out of your own pocket. What was mom and dad going to do? Tell you no?